Hi, I'm attorney Vincent Davis, and I've been fighting CPS for over 35 years. Through my years of experience, I've gained invaluable insights that I'm ready to share with you. If you're a parent or a caregiver or a relative, we need to talk. I'm offering a new opportunity for you to speak with me on a one-on-one basis. Ask me any questions, and I'll provide you with the insight you need to take steps in your CPS case. Members get everything they need to gain confidence and the knowledge that they need to support necessary to truly fight back. And as a special thank you for attending, I have a special offer just for you. Don't miss out, join us, and let's take that next step together. I'll see you at the question and answer event.
Good morning and welcome. I'm Bob Pace. I'm your host, and here we are to fight CPS and hang on to our children. I'm glad you found me. I'm on Facebook, Fight CPS. And the word CPS stands for the Child Protection System. That's what I call them. They're mandated by Congress to protect our children from abuse and neglect, and also to help out families in need in the areas of food, shelter, clothing, transportation, education, medical, and even a job. Furthermore, if they take your child and break up the family, they're supposed to do family reunification. It's very important because the studies have found the best parents are the biological parents. So it's important to help the family get back together by taking programs and classes. They'll do so. Now, there are 4 ways to interact with this podcast. 1, just by being in this room. 2 is to text me messages. And all I ask is the name, your first name, city, county, your state, or your country. If you're from another part of the world, I have 15 countries that have text in. And try to be complete with your case. Now, the third way that you can interact with this podcast is be a guest on my show. All you need to do is put in the show times. I'm on 7 days a week, in the morning and the evening, 10 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock at night, Pacific Standard Time. There are exceptions. On Sunday, I come on. Sunday and Saturday, I come on at 8. And this Friday, I'm trying to come on at 4 o'clock. All right. To be a guest, you just type to grace@vincentwdavis.com. grace@vincentdavis.com. Now, the last way to be on my podcast is a call in. And my number is 626-698-0990. So please call in. Please call in. And also, if you call in or a guest, you get a free 15-minute private consultation with Mr. Davis. Now, I have another number on the screen, 888-888-6582. That's the office of Vincent W. Davis. And if you want more time than 15 minutes, you can get a 30-minute consultation with Mr. Davis for $60. All you do is go to the website that's going across the bottom of my screen. It's https://candlely, CALDNLY.com. It's ly.com. And it's apps, APPTS, VWD /Bob Pace. And that's that one there. Now, there are 5 rules that I've come up with to go by. 1 is you need to get an attorney. CPS is like open heart surgery. You're Alice in Wonderland, and you've gone into a crazy world here in CPS. So you need to get an attorney, and a court-appointed attorney won't do you. Second rule is you need to have a notebook and keep track of all your stuff. And the most important part of the notebook is the time log incident form. You just put the date, the time, the location, the people involved, summarize the incident on the second line. The third line, put the outcome of the incident. Third rule is you never talk to social workers or police, never let them in your home, and especially if you're taking your children in to urgent care, don't talk to them there, and don't surrender your child. There's certain ways you have to keep your children. Also, be careful when you have a pregnancy that you don't leave without your birth certificate for your children, and don't let them take your child while you're in the hospital. Rule number 4 is research the internet. Spend 40, 60 hours. There's so much you can find. And rule 5 is have a special paper with all your notes, like your birth certificates, children's birth certificates, your license and marriage certificates, and health records, medical records, school records, etc., all in one place, one folder. So those are the 5 rules, and I've already told you how they interact. So now the rest of the time is that we want to encourage you to talk about different topics. I can talk about anything. I'm a family man. I've been involved in CPS, been fighting for 15 years. Unfortunately, in 2010, I had a lay person that called in to our family and made wrong allegations. And then in 2015, they took my 3 youngest children. I've been married for over 42 years, and I have 6 children, 3 older ones, 3 younger ones. It was my younger ones that were stolen. CPS is not your friend or foe. I'm not saying all CPS is bad, but myself personally, my case, and the cases of over 600 people I've talked to throughout the United States and the world. Now, I have various topics that we can talk about. I have about 75 of them loaded, and we can talk about anything you like to talk about. That's what's important, that we try to help you in your case. We try to help you in your case. Now, I have people that come to my room regularly. Last night we had Faye from Richmond, Kentucky, and let me see here. Let me go ahead and see. Now, there's one area too that I do is questions and answers with CPS. It's on Core's Digest, and they ask a question and there's an answer. And what I can do about that is try to do some of that, because it has things that can help you a lot. It has things that can help you a lot. Okay, here's a question on Quora, and I'll read it. If you see here, if I, a mother to my child, decide not to respond to text messages from my children's father until we go to court, will that be used against me in court? Well, the answer was by Julie, a former Secretary of Disability Determination Services. Most likely that depends on what the message are about. My son's father harassed me to the point of stalking, and the cops at the time wish our state had the stalking law. This is back in the mid 1990s, because I have enough proof and witnesses that would have put him away. After a while and enough visits from the cops, he finally quit. However, that was before the birth of my son. After the birth, I would take his calls, which only happened once in the first 6 months of my son's life. He wanted to visit. We met up at a restaurant, but it was cut short as he smelled of booze. I informed him from that point on that he needs to go to court for future visits. I had several people in this restaurant give me a thumbs up and a silent applause when I told his dad. So I did have witnesses and that I made the attempt for this visit. So it depends on what the message contains as whether or not it be used against you. If the father is just wanting to know how the child is, it isn't hard to respond back and say the child is doing fine. So that was a real simple question there. So let me see if I can get another one, maybe. Here's a question. What would make you decide not to adopt your foster child? Sandy Allen, co-author of The Bad Things, Can't Stop the Best Things, the story of a hero at Freelance's Writers. I went into foster parenting naively, assuming that I loved all children unconditionally. They are children, right? Nope. I expected some things like head lice. I didn't expect most of the kids would know what a toilet paper was for or how to take a bath. Minor things in the big picture, but it still matters. On the initial paperwork, I answered that there was no behavior or situation I wouldn't accept. Not because I thought the answer for every traumatized child, but because I could imagine the dangerous behavior at some children. They are children, right? I didn't know that caseworkers would downplay, purposely omit, or outright lie about the backgrounds of children. All foster children were traumatized, but some of the children needed a highly skilled treatment plan, highly skilled treatment team, not a foster family. I had no idea. Because of the shortage of foster homes and my declaration of come one, come all, caseworkers easily called me to take the child or that who needed to be moved. I, I was yes to all of them. I shouldn't have. I quickly learned that I would not accept a child who tortures animals or is a fire starter. I learned to hold steady with the small number of children our household could handle. And I learned that keeping a child overnight or just for a few days was never the reality. I had to give caseworkers hard deadlines and mean it. Some children are easy to love, some are not. Some children didn't like me. Don't laugh, but that was a shocker. In the long term, your foster child comes home with a bio family attached. We live in a small town. Safety was an issue with some children. Birth families can cause trouble for foster families, a lot of trouble. I also naively thought that birth families would be grateful to foster families. They aren't. A simple Walmart trip can turn into a big drama when you are the star. Some children, medical care was too physical demanding to take on full time. The physical demands of caring for one terminally ill baby for a few days to offer respite to her foster mom severely injured my back. I wish I had been strong enough. Even though I wasn't meant to adopt every child who came through our home, I cried over every one when they left. I cried writing the answers to this question, remembering a sea of wonderful souls. BTW, we did adopt two sons. Our oldest, Linus, has a brain injury from abuse. He died unexpectedly 2 years at age 36 months. No, he died 2 years ago at age 36. Broke our hearts. Our youngest, Michael, was born in the world facing months of withdrawal and needing a surgery that would save his life. He's 28 now, with two sons of his own. With both of them, we knew they were meant to be ours. They are sons to be proud of stories for another day. Huh. Right now, we've had only a couple people come into the room, and I'm open to any kind of questions or issues you may have with your child protection system. You may have. Now, here's a question. If you don't let CPS in per the Fourth Amendment, I don't know if the Fourth Amendment allows CPS in. I think it's the other way around. I hope you lose your children. Well, that's a rude remark. Don't you realize since it's a civil matter, not a criminal matter, they can use your refusal to let them against you? Why can't people see CPS is there to help them? Well, I have some answers about that one. And let's see what Lynn Fordwin, who is a server at restaurants, has to say. She says they aren't there to help them. I was in foster care growing up. The reason they took me the first time, when I was 1 year old, my sibling at 2 months passed away from SIDS. No one knows why SIDS happened, but it's not something you would know if your baby have or not. Fast forward, I'm in and out of foster care because family members, neighbors would call a CPS and leave false narratives. My parents never drank alcohol or did drugs. They were dirty, though. I had clothes, food, and whatever I wanted. Other people hated me going without seeing my parents growing up. The only thing I had to remind me of them is a photo I look at and ask my 6-year-old self, are these my parents? How do I know what they look like? Now that time has passed, is any of it real? I came home to be with my parents again one time around 9, and my dad wanted us to clean the house. I refused as I haven't seen the house in years, and it was a huge mess for my parents living there. Sure enough, my dad puts me in a corner where I stand there with a quarter between my nose against the wall while on my tippy toes. Or a caseworker sat outside our house across the street to stalk us every day. We got sent back to our parents that day. She saw my dad put me in the corner, banged on the door with the police 10 minutes later, and claimed that me in the corner was child abuse and we were removed. This is early 2000. So my experience in foster care, well, let's see. When I was 5 years old with my sister, 8 years old, as they spit us from our brother, this had to endure strangers by himself. We got seen to foster parents who steadily had foster kids. My time in that house was 1 week. The foster dad was molesting and raping little girls. They removed us. Another memory I have being sent to this one woman who also had a lot of foster care. She had cameras all over the house, even the bathroom. I cried my first night when I was only 5 and scared. I got locked into a room and screamed at to be quiet. I don't remember ever eating there. She never fed any of us. I only ate at school. Every day I was locked up if I wasn't at school. Another memory that is deep in my thoughts is when I was 10, my sister and I got sent to live with a single foster parent. She was devoted Jehovah's Witness. I was forced to wash her walls with bleach. The rags were old white underwear with blood stains. My young self didn't realize it was the period blood. In rooms, I wasn't allowed to step a foot in. She would cook herself dinner and have us eat TV dinners on some stairs outside the house with tons of ants. She had a bathroom with a bathtub, but I had to take showers in my bathing suit outside with soap and a hose. She didn't care what season it was. I was forced to go to church. Young Mean didn't mind it, but it bothered me that we had different religious views. Yet I was placed with her and forced to believe in her faith. The only material I was allowed to read outside of school was the Bible. Once you told her you were done with a chapter, she would test you on it. If you got one answer wrong, you had to start over from Genesis. Doesn't matter to her if you made it all the way to Psalms. The worst part about this foster experience is she left us with her neighbor, 10 years old. Me stood at the sidewalk by the street because something didn't feel right. I didn't know this man, and my foster mom didn't talk to him. Well, I was told by an adult that I need to come to the porch. So as I'm walking up to the stranger that I was left with, he whipped out his penis. Me, a 10-year-old, scared and confused the first time I saw a penis, and it was forced. I ran across the street to some couple I knew that had kids, and they called the cops and helped me get removed from her care. So while all this has happened to me, I noticed the kids in my neighborhood that actually needed help. They had no clothes, shoes, coats, food, and their parents would be on drugs. I watched grown people steal copper to get high while the kids were starving and needed clothes, and I beat on. I was taken away because someone didn't want my parents to be happy, while my happiness was sacrificed. I was only truly being hurt. Adults suck. That was a terrible, terrible answer. That's a terrible, terrible answer. Well, good morning. I was hoping we get some people in the room. I'm trying to change my show a little bit, not to dwell so much on my 5 rules or how we interact with podcasts. I did all that in 5 minutes, which is good. That's what I want it to be like. But I also like to help you with your case. And sometimes reading these stories are so bad. Yeah, here's one. Can the police search your house without a warrant if someone calls Child Protection Services on you? 100 policemen can stand outside your door and CPS caseworkers as well, but they cannot enter your home without a warrant from a judge. They sometimes will lie to you and tell you they're holding a warrant in their hands, but it's not a legal warrant. Please do not allow anyone in your home. The best thing you can do is tell them to leave, and they'll tell you they have a warrant to come into your home. Tell them to leave it under your door, in your mailbox, on your doormat, anywhere they like, and tell them to leave. They may stand out there for a half an hour, maybe longer, but they'll leave eventually. I can also promise you they'll be leaving. They will not be leaving any such warrant on your door because it's fake. No judge gave them a warrant for an anonymous phone call made to CPS. I can promise you that if they're coming into your house, they would announce they have a warrant and they're coming in. Then they would come in. They use many scare tactics, and it's just one of them. Do not ever open your door to any CPS worker or policeman. God bless you, and I pray all good for you and your family. And that was answered by Emily, a 1-year criminal justice student. So that's my rule number 3. You do not let police in or social workers in. Now let's see what else I got here. Here's one. If a parental rights are terminated, is a child allowed to visit the parent who lost their rights to the children? If adopted parents choose to allow this, they probably can. However, I would strongly urge you to think hard about this. I've worked with parents who've had their parental rights terminated, and I'll tell you some things I know. Whether they're violent or neglectful, whether their behavior stemmed from chemical abuse or mental illness, these are not people your child will ever be safe around. If they get their act together, stop using, get mental health care, my experience is that they'll not come looking for their child. My experience is they'll feel their child is living a better life, and it's a life that does not include them. They have to let go. The parents who are looking for their child, who want to have a relationship with their child, frequently do not have secure recovery. Their addiction relapses is messy for anyone who cares for them. They've not moved on. They still believe your child is their child. Be very concerned about your boundaries and how many parents you want feeling entitled to raise your child the way they want to raise your child. Finally, mental illness can be subtle and insidious. A lot of addiction is self medication. Drug users who are not mentally ill and traumatized before addiction certainly are often spiraling down into abuse and things that experience. A lot of mental illness and personality disorders are difficult to deal with. These people can be masterful manipulators. It can be challenging even for well-trained professionals to catch behaviors. It's part of the reason we do clinical staffing. It takes a village sometimes. You're not going to catch the con. Your child is definitely not going to catch the con, especially when your child desperately wants to believe. I'm not talking about open adoption. I'm now talking about forced foster care. Those are different circumstances. There's a reason these people have their parental rights terminated. Put your energy in helping your child deal with trauma and abandonment and feel unlovable. That will help your child. Give the people who care about their problems a window in their lives. Is probably a terrible idea. Boy, that was not. That was answered by Lisa, who's MS Family Studies, a parent, educator, and disabled American mom. Wow. I have some comments that have come in. Let me see. They're mostly from the rooms. We have, 8 rooms that come in here, and sometimes they come in duplicate fashion. But hi, Paulette Hinsey. I'm doing okay. Thank you so much for calling. Paulette is from South Carolina, and her husband is taking her children all over the country, Florida, Georgia, whatnot. So I'm so glad that you called in, Paulette. What I was doing was I was reading my stories from Cora's Digest about CPS. So what's the newest, Paulette? What do you have to say? I'd love for you to call me. You say you are, but I know you're at work today. So I'm glad that you did text me a message, Paulette. I know how hard it must be to fight your case alone and not going anywhere. So I am. I am. I've been reading some articles from Cora's Digest, some CPS articles. Let me grab some water here because my throat's getting dry. Welcome to you people that come into the room. I'd love to have you call me. My number's up on the screen, or you can text me a comment, or even sign up to be a guest. CPS is not an easy thing to fight. I'm not saying all CPS is bad, but the CPS for over 600 people, including myself, has turned out to be a bad thing. Turned out to be a bad thing. Now, again, I'd like to remind you all that Vincent has several ways you can contact him. He's a dependency juvenile family attorney who's a pit bull and been fighting CPS for 35 years. And he will get your children back. He's done civil lawsuits and won millions of dollars in both civil and state courts. So I strongly recommend that if you need an attorney, he's one that you should contact and talk to him about his retainer. And he has several programs, 2 that you can talk to him for 15 minutes for free. All you have to do is be a guest on my podcast or the call in on my phone number. And doing so will qualify you for 2 15-minute sessions with him, private consultations. So I encourage you to do that. And he will take care of any questions you have. He has a session this Saturday that's coming up that you'll hear the message again. And you don't want to miss that podcast. Um, we've had several people, and we've had Paulette, but then I've lost Paulette. She either went back to work. She calls me all the time. She's from South Carolina, a single mom. And I'm glad that you did, Paulette, and I'm glad you're still alive because she has a hard case. She has 4 children that her husband refusing for her to see. And she tries to track him down, but he keeps moving. He's been moving from South Carolina to Florida, to Georgia, to Florida, then back. So anyway, I'm here for you, Paulette. All you have to do is call my number. That's on the screen, 626-698-0990. Or you can be a guest on my podcast. All you do is email Grace at vincentwdavis.com. If you want longer time with Mr. Davis, like say 30 minutes, he will give you 30 minutes for $60. All you have to do is go to the website at the bottom of my screen. And the number 888 is the law offices of Vincent W. Davis Associates. You can call that number and retain him. So far, we've only had Paulette call in. I tried to get hold of Faye, but she was tired, I think, the last time I tried to get a hold of her. Okay. I've been talking about Coors Digest, about some cases about CPS and see what I can do. So now, let's see what else I got from Coors Digest here. Okay. One moment. I'm back, and I was briefly talking to my son. You know, families are really important, and I know what it is to lose a family. I mean, I was brutalized when they took my children. I was brutalized. I still am. CPS is a hard experience to go through, and I feel for you. I really feel for you, and I want to help you. I'm not an attorney, but I'm a loving man, and I want to help you. And so, So we have Michelle Portner. Welcome back. I haven't heard from you in a couple days. Glad to have you return, Michelle. Let's see what you have to say today. I don't see how ethically or morally they can take away Roe versus Wade and not restructure the funding. They're creating a very dangerous decision. They know it. They want to take kids for inventory. Well, in Roe versus Wade, that's something we're in this room about child protection system. And, about the politics of Roe versus Wade. The only thing that I have discovered and known is that when President Trump was president and president-elect is Trump is now going to be president again, it was taken out of the federal hands because they did not want people, especially people like older men or women or people decide the fate of women. So they put it in the state's hands. And I think there's only one state that has really gone corrupt with it. Most of the states still have it like it was at Roe versus Wade. So, I don't know how the wanting the kids for inventory has anything to do with Roe versus Wade. If you're thinking parents are having kids purposely for CPS inventory, I don't believe that's the case. And Michelle, what city and state are you from? I forget. If you could tell me, it'd be really appreciated. I'm doing okay. It's hard. It's hard to talk about an entity that was so corrupt that stole your daughter at 12 and now she's 22. But I forgot what city and state you are, Michelle, or your county. That would be nice too, if you know the county. Oh, good. You're talking. That's good. I'm glad someone in this room is talking. It helps me out. But you put that in the state's hands and then create a financial incentive. You're talking about Clinton, who put the financial incentive in there. They're creating a situation for all women to not be able to get health care. Well, I don't know if that's true because I haven't heard too much from women out there. You're the first one, Michelle, has talked about this issue. I know in California, I drive by the Planned Parenthood office. It hasn't changed in the years it's been there. I think it's been there since the 60s. So that's going on 60 years, maybe, 68 years or something like that. But I don't know of any particular states that are affecting the states. The financial incentive is wrong. Clinton said they're rewarding CPS workers if they get their tallies for taking children, and that's wrong. That's wrong. But appreciating you, Dakota County. Oh, good. You're from Dakota County. That's good to know. Oh, wait. You're from Atlanta, Georgia. Okay, Michelle Portner's from Atlanta, Georgia, and she's from the county called DeKalb County. Okay, I've heard of that. Children's Health Care of Atlanta. The NCLB. What does the NCLB stand for? The National Children something. Children Health Care of Atlanta, Georgia. Of Atlanta, Edston. I don't know what you mean by that and what NCLB is. Technically, Bush, but yes, Clinton changed it. Yeah, okay, Michelle. Yeah, Clinton did change it. And he made an incentive for CPS. And then she puts, see what else she said. No child left behind is how the states are. Well, right. Getting the funding for these kids, get the funding for these kids. But the problem is the funding that comes in from the federal government to the Child Protection Agency at the county level goes to state and it goes to county. There's no accountability for that funding. They talk about Congress all the time out of money. And the reason why is that there's so many wasteful spending that Congress does. Like the military would turn in an invoice for a toilet for $5,000. It doesn't cost $5,000 for a toilet seat. I'm talking about a toilet seat that has 2 screws you screw on. And so there's a lot of wasteful spending. And one of them is the CPS because they give out too much money. There's no accountability. And in fact, I know in my case, in my children, they were getting $20,000 per child per month. That's 3 children, $60,000. If you have 100 families with 300 children, that's $6 million a month. It's a $1 trillion business. They're given money and there's no accountability. It just easily flows from the federal government to the state, who in turn gives it to the county. There's no board of directors or supervisors. They're a watchdog. In fact, in Richmond, Kentucky, there is right now a determination where $1 million went unaccounted for in Richmond, Kentucky. Now, they found an individual has been charged with embezzlement of funds for $400,000 of it, but the other $600,000 is still missing. So, we don't have accountability with the money. So the money is wasteful. And Michelle says they take them from families and do not work for unification. Typically speaking of the 600 people, I agree with you. But there are probably pockets of CPS that do reunification, that do return the children to the family. But I've only talked to 3 social workers on here that say anything positive about the child protection system. And so I agree with you. They do take children. They don't do family reunification. It's a money-making business to them. And if we had some type of a watchdog on the money of our government, which I think President Trump is trying to do right now, he's creating a group of individuals that Elon Musk will be a part of. It's called government, I think it's called Government Watchdog or Government. It's an agency that watches the government and how they spend stuff, because we need to tighten our bootstraps on how loosely we spend things. There's a group in Utah. They're like Mormons, but they're a different religious cult. Well, they get, something like a neighborhood of $6 million a year free from the government to develop fuel. And in the 20 years I've been following this group, they have not developed 1 ounce of fuel. But they get that $20 million a year from the U.S. government to an entity that really shouldn't get it. We are just too loose with our money. People complaining we give money to overseas, to countries to protect democracy, to help them. Some of that needs to be. But why do we need to give an excess of money to the Child Protection Agency so they can steal our kids? I think that's wrong. I think that's solely wrong there. Now, Michelle says, who's from Atlanta, Georgia, I'm not in the county. The hospital is located in that county. The hospital knows if they would direct the kids to CPS, they get the kickbacks. I agree. There's too much corruption going on, and it's got to stop. And I'm hoping with the new administration it will, because so far the president-elect has worked every day since his election to try to appoint people so that he could start running out of the gate in January and do things. And he does not. want to deny women parental care, or he's not against abortions. He's not against a lot of things that people label him. What he's against is grown men telling a woman what she can do with her body. So he took it out of the federal hands and put it in the state hands, because the states know right away what they need to do. And what they should do is continue to fund Planned Parenthood to advise women of alternative ways to abortion. Abortion is not a birth control. It's being used too wisely as a birth control. I should know from experience. My wife was raped at 16 and again at 24, 25, and she's had 2 children out of that. One she gave up for adoption. He later came back into life at the age of 20, and now he's a JAG in the United States Air Force. The other child came to me when my wife and I were dating. She was 5 years old, and I was the only father she knew. She now is 37, and she works as a teacher at a university and has children of her own. So, rape is not the solution. Abortion is not the solution. But you should have professional guidance, because a lot of women are raped and have to determine their child at the age of 14 or 13 or 15. So Planned Parenthood is a good thing. It's an education program, because what's happened is that our life skills have been taken away. We used to have life skills in high school. I think life skills should happen from elementary to middle school to high school to college. Every semester or quarter or all the school year, you should take a class of life skills. Things like marriage, divorce, CPS, your taxes, checking a book, sewing, cooking, how to raise children. I mean, all these things. And they can be done at the level the kids are at. I know in elementary school, they're not thinking about children. Well, you don't need to go there about that. But you can talk to them about other things, how to respect their parents, things like that can make it a lot better. Now, let's see what else Michelle has to say here. I bet if you look at the number of CPS are getting the kids to the hospital and the judges in these counties, yes, I know medical trafficking is bad. I've been talking about it for months. I know it's bad, Michelle, and it's parents have got to stop the medical trafficking. Now, Michelle says, why the people have connections get those government contracts without accountability and use safety and secrecy to keep the corruption under bay. I agree about the secrecy. Again, President Trump is trying to create many task forces to eliminate a lot of that. I think you're going to be surprised that he's going to try to keep his pledges being elected as president. The only issue with the continuing to be states is the issue taking away their health care, so force children on young women and to keep the financial incentives. You don't need financial incentives, especially in the area of child protection services. Right now, there's over 1,000 children per day that are being abused that aren't reported. What you need to do is how it's being reported. We have 2 kinds of individuals: the professional, the layman. The professional do training of how to report child abuse and neglect. And so when they call it in, do it. But I think it should be more than a call in. I think professional lay people should have to put it in writing and sign their name with their phone number and email, so that if they found out that they are lying, that they can be prosecuted. It's got to stop. There's too many easy ways to pick up the phone and hide behind the phone anonymous and say, Joe Smith, my neighbor next door, is letting his child run loose. Well, Joe Smith, when they contact him, doesn't have a child. The neighbor was only doing that because they didn't like the way his dog barked. I mean, it is terrible. It is terrible there. I'm personally pro-life, but each situation is different, and bodily autonomy is something we should need for freedom, regardless of the beliefs. I agree with you. I I am pro-life, and I say I'm pro-life because you should not loosely use abortion, but in circumstances where there's maybe rape or uh, incest or something terribly has happened, a woman, and if the guy who did it is around, both of them should be able to consult each other with professional help and make a determination. If the mother's life is in danger, abortion may be the only way to save the mother's life. So I don't think having two individuals is as important as saving one individual. And so it's something that doctors have to assess and everything else. So I appreciate your comments, Michelle, and it really helps me in this podcast. Now, there's 3 minutes left of this podcast. I've already reached 11 o'clock. I've started a couple minutes early, but I want to thank Michelle, who spent some time, quality time, and talked to me on the show. I think that's great. That's what this show is about, is to help one another, to be able to talk about it, and it doesn't cost you a dime. So I wish you all would continue to see me. I'm on again tonight at 7 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So I'd love to hear from you all. Again, I'll have my number up. You can only talk to me during my show hours. You call me before or after my show hours, I cannot talk to you. So I want to thank all my listeners for the emojis, the smiley faces, the thumbs up, the hearts. And if you show me love with the stars, that's great. Don't forget to check below that you want to follow me, and that if you want to be notified when I'm on, check the notification. Paulette, I know you're at work and maybe you can't talk very shortly, but I'm so glad to hear from you. Please keep in touch, Paulette from South Carolina. Michelle is from Georgia. So we've had two very special people have text in requests and things out there. So I want everybody to keep fighting for their children. Don't give up with your CPS case. You're going to have to be persistent and stay with it and follow what they want you to do to a degree. But be careful not to talk to them or let them take your children or do crazy things. And the answer to that is get a lawyer, because it's like open heart surgery. So please get yourself a lawyer. All right? So this is going to be Bob Pace getting ready to sign off. There will be a brief message from Vincent Davis about this upcoming 16th, which happens to be my birthday. I'm going to be 75 years old. Dinosaur, right. I made it that far. I cannot believe it. So God bless you all. I'll see you tonight. This is Bob Pace signing off.
Hi, I'm attorney Vincent Davis, and I've been fighting CPS for over 35 years. Through my years of experience, I've gained invaluable insights that I'm ready to share with you. If you're a parent or a caregiver or a relative, we need to talk. I'm offering a new opportunity for you to speak with me on a one-on-one basis. Ask me any questions, and I'll provide you with the insight you need to take steps in your CPS case. Members get everything they need to gain confidence and the knowledge that they need to support necessary to truly fight back. And as a special thank you for attending, I have a special offer just for you. Don't miss out. Join us, and let's take that next step together. I'll see you at the question and answer event.